Hey, yo, welcome back to the channel. My name is Rob Markman. This is Markman Comics. Might come up with a different name for the channel. I don't know. I always felt like my name was kind of superheroic. You had Spider-Man, Batman, Markman. So there's Markman Comics, all right? So as some of you know, I have a growing hip-hop music channel on YouTube with about 20,000 subs that I just started this year, really started to take off. And I started doing a bit of comic book content over there. But I decided I wanted a whole separate channel. I wanted to start from zero. I wanted to build something separate from the comics from the ground up. I didn't want it to feel like it was coming secondary to the music. I wanted it to have a place of its own, right? So this is my fourth video, and I'm already way ahead of where I thought I would be with 250 subs. Y'all really showed up for my Sticky Goose first comic time reaction video, so I want to thank you. Thank you to all the new subscribers. Man, I saw Jim Mint Collectibles in the comments, leaving a comment. He came through. I always watch his stuff now, man. I was a fan of Comic Time first, learned the Jim Mint from there, started following Jim Mint on his channel. So super grateful that he's checking out the joints. DJ Link, shout out to you. MON Comics, shout out to you. Colossus Collector, shout out to you. Los Comic Journey, shout out to you. That's just to name a few, but everybody though was like really warm, really welcoming, really excited for me to start joining this comic content community, and I'm excited too. All right, so a couple of things before we get into today's video. If you're at New York Comic Con, come say what up. I'm gonna be moderating a panel on Friday, October 18th at 3:45 p.m. with Charlemagne the God. That's my guy. That's my brother. The legend, Dennis Cohen and Axel Alonso. We're gonna be talking about their new comic, Illuminati. I'm hyped to be at Comic-Con in an official capacity. I went so many years as a fan, so to be able to moderate a panel. Last year I moderated a panel too with DMC, from Run DMC, of course. He has Daryl Makes Comics. Sanford Green was on the panel. Bill Sienkiewicz was on the panel. Axel was on the panel as well. So, it was super cool for me to be at Comic-Con 2 years in a row. So I'm definitely going to be there Friday working. Come say what's up. I'm going to be around Saturday hanging out with my sons. They want to go. So I'll be there Saturday. Might be there Sunday too. We'll see. But if you're around Comic-Con, come say what's up, all right? Okay, so today I'm going to walk through the 2-page Silver Surfer story that I wrote in 2020 for Marvel Voices #1. I'm so proud of this book. There's an anthology with a bunch of different stories in it. I have 2 pages out of this comic. It has variant covers. It was reprinted. It definitely went to a second printing. It's in trade paperback form. So I have 2 pages in this, 2 small pages, but it's something that I'm super, super proud of. So today I'm going to walk through panel by panel. So there's spoiler alerts. If you haven't read it and you really want to read it, go check it out. But if not, I'm going to walk through it today. I'm going to put the art on the screen. I'm going to show you my original script and just talk about how it all came together, right? Marvel Voices #1. So the story goes like this. Chris Robinson, who is an amazing comic book editor, he reached out to me. He was working with Marvel at the time, and he just offered me this tremendous opportunity. He had reached out to me previously to provide a quote for the inner sleeve of Marvel Hip Hop variant hardcover. It was this hardcover where they collected all of the variant covers. I think there were 2 volumes. So I think on volume 2 he reached out to me to leave a quote for the inner sleeve of the book. Like Killer Mike had a quote on there. I think Peter Rosenberg had a quote on there. I think LP. So it was all these hip hop heads commenting how cool it was that Marvel did the hip hop variants. Me and Chris have stayed in touch. I think there was a Marvel Comics premiere of Black Panther that he had invited me to when Black Panther first came out. So, that was super cool. And then he reached out to me in 2019, towards the end of 2019, with just this dope opportunity to write for Marvel Voices. Now, Marvel Voices is a Marvel podcast hosted by Angelique Roche, and they turned it into an anthology book series that gave creators of color a chance. But they also, they expanded it to the LGBTQ community, just basically creators in comics who maybe didn't traditionally have a voice or a place to really express themselves. Marvel Voices through the years has provided that. They've done an indigenous edition. They've done Latinx edition. All types, for Black creators, all types of stuff. So This is the very first Marvel Voices. Chris called me. He offered me 2 pages. He said you could write any character I wanted. I said yes immediately. And then I tried to figure out how to tell an impactful story in 2 pages. Like, it's tough. It's very, like, I had started out, and a lot of y'all know, like, in hip hop journalism professionally, and I used to write album reviews, and I used to get like 300 words to break down how to review an album, like what I thought about an album. And then I was writing for this magazine. I was an editor at Scratch Magazine, and it was a small magazine, and they reviewed a bunch of albums. So there were 25-word album reviews, and it was a challenge to get your thoughts in a very succinct space. And this reminded me of that. It was like, how do I get my thoughts? How do I get my creativity in just 2 pages? How do I tell a story in just 2 pages? It took me a minute to get into that mindset. First, I was thinking about telling the story around Bishop from the X-Men, and I was going to remake a scene from the movie Juice where Tupac played Bishop, and I was going to tie Juice with the X-Men and Bishop with Tupac, but I just couldn't figure out how to nail that in 2 pages, and so I backed off of that. And then essentially around that time, I was reading a lot in the news about climate change and the dangerous ways that we're destroying the earth, right? And I just found, first of all, I found my inspiration there, but first I found my fear there. Like I was reading there, I got really paranoid, but then I found my inspiration there. And I thought using Silver Surfer was a dope way to tell that story because, Marvel had always told stories like that through comics. Like, when people say, oh, comics aren't political. And I mean, Captain America was punching Hitler in the face, like in the 40s, like on the cover of the book. Like, comics are inherently political, especially Marvel comics. So, I thought of a way to tell this story about the earth and the climate through the eyes of Silver Surfer. Like, I racked my brain, and then it just came to me. And I wrote the script like in no time. So I asked Chris if Damian Scott could draw it, and we made it happen. Shout out to my brother Damian Scott. Super dope. If you've never checked out his work, definitely check it out. He did an amazing run on Batgirl in 1999, the early 2000s. He did like the first 30 issues. Currently, I did a short. If you check YouTube Shorts, he just partnered with Steph Curry to do his graphic novel. Damian is drawing Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, Robbie Reyes. He's done it all. I'm at a loss right now, but Damian is amazing. That's my brother. We grew up together. So I asked Chris. Chris offered me the script, offered to do the script. I asked if Damian could draw it, and we made it happen. So again, spoiler alert. If you haven't read the story and you wish to, just leave because I'm going to break down the story here. So I first titled the story, What a Wonderful World, right? Louis Armstrong reference, of course, right? But if you notice, there's a strike through on the word wonderful right off the bat. And it's almost like the trail that Silver Surfer leaves when he's traveling through space, right? So all that was very intentional. It's a juxtaposition. Obviously, Louis Armstrong is singing about trees are green, red roses too, skies are blue, clouds are white. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. And I'm about to tell a story about how we just ruined it. So it's not really a wonderful world. So the strike through on that, I don't know if a lot of people caught that, but the strike through on wonderful was very intentional. And again, it was made to look like the trail of Silver Surfer's board as he's flying through space, right? So it starts off. I'm just gonna read my for those who've never seen the script, I'm no expert script writer. I only written a few comics. This wasn't the first comic that I wrote. I wrote a story for DC in Solo 10. It was a Flash story. It was 10 pages. Maybe I'll break that down at a later date. But I wanted to start here. So, all right, we start off panel 1, right? It says, we open with the Silver Surfer sitting on his board, legs dangling off. His body is battle-worn and limp. He's tired and he's seen better days. Our hero hovers above the earth, looking down at the once blue and green planet. That's the Louis Armstrong reference, right? Like, trees are green, skies are blue. So at the once blue and green planet. Now our world is decaying. The ocean and the trees that you used to see from space, right? The blue and green earth image that we're used to seeing from space are replaced by haze and dusty brown hues. The surfer has a defeated look on his face as he stares down at his failure. And then Silver Surfer the self, all right? He's thinking to himself, This planet reminded me so much of my own. I swore to protect it with all my cosmic might. So right away, we're setting up for you that, man, something happened to Earth. Like Surfer was so inspired, and he swore to protect Earth, since his first appearance, right? And something went wrong. He's down. He's beaten. This is a foe that he cannot beat. So, like the idea was to have Surfer think back on all the ways that he defended the Earth in the past, all the ways he put his life on the line to defend humans from things that humanity had no defense for, right? This is how I was going to be able to pour some action into a very limited space. I was going to do this through flashbacks, all right? So we go to panel 2. In the flashback panel, we see Surfer toe-to-toe with the mighty Galactus. The celestial giant's size appears more imposing than ever, but the much smaller Surfer drives him back with a two-handed cosmic blast. Again, Surfer says to himself, even as a mere herald, the humanity of this world inspired me to overcome the biggest obstacles. So, a hint to his origin. The first panel, the first flashback, the first major battle that we see has to be against Galactus. You know what I'm saying? Like that's his arch nemesis. That's his foe. So the first foe we see here has to be Galactus. It was Damian's idea to put the scrolls running in this panel, and I thought it made all the difference. Shout out to Damian. Again, you write the script to kind of guide the artist and tell the story, but obviously, whichever artist you work with, and there's a chemistry, what I've learned is you should probably talk to the artist that you're working with beforehand to figure out how much description they need, how much room they need to do their own thing, because artists are, of course, storytellers in their own right. The very fact of the matter is that comic books are a visual medium. So I would argue that the artist is the most important storyteller. Script writing is important for sure, but I could write a novel with no pictures. The reason I know why I pick up comics off the stand is because of the art. So, you got to give space for the artists to also, tell their story, because you're working with a great artist. The greatest artists are the greatest storytellers as well. So it was Damian's idea to put the scrolls on this panel, and it made all the difference. One thing that I learned, and this was the second thing that I got published. Remember, the first one was with DC, and I'm learning as I go along. When I sent the script, and I'll show it on screen right here, I also provided a page layout with the script. And that was probably overdoing it. I provided more than the plot. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, some writers, especially, right, the Marvel method is just plots that you give very simple plots and the artist expounds on it. I did a full script, but I took it even a step further and I provided a page layout. I was definitely overdoing it. As a writer, again, I should give the artist more space to do their thing. Chris actually sent me a note. I hope he's okay with me sharing this. I probably should have asked first. But one, he was like, Rob, this is awesome, man. The script is really strong. Like, so, man, that meant the world to me. But he gave me this note. Very few writers include page layouts, but it's not a faux pas. Parentheses, Claremont does it. That said, I think Damian won't need it. I think a more useful thing would be to write in the panel description which panel you think has the most importance should be the largest on the page. A great editor's note. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm young. I don't know anything, and a great editor is going to guide you. In journalism and magazine writing, I've been in the editor's position. So just giving the writer the encouragement, but the tidbits on how to really get the best out of them. So Chris is amazing, man. And he says it's not a faux pas. Claremont does it. I'm no Claremont. So, I got to take a step back. I got to relax. Funny thing is, so Damian never got the page layout, which I'm showing you here. I never sent it. But the first page of this 2-page story, Damian's layout, was exactly as I laid it out. So that, again, gave me more confidence that, oh, man, this story is special. I didn't give him the page layout, but he saw my script and laid out the page as I had envisioned it. So that was dope. Okay, so I gave you Galactus real quick. Next, I wanted to include one of my favorite villains. And we go to panel 3. In this panel, Surfer is being pulled down into a fiery pit by Mephisto. Again, Surfer the self. This is all self-reflection. This is all flashbacks. And he says, and when the universe tugged at my soul and left me to toil in my own personal hell. Again, Mephisto, the devil industry, toil in my own personal hell. It's just a little poetic, man, but I love the way that Damian also depicted this upside down, like Mephisto really pulling Surfer down. I thought that was amazing. So boom, you get 2 action panels with 2 major villains right off the bat. And then I wanted to end the first page on a somber note, right? Because my plan was to bring start off page 2 with another epic battle. But again, you got 2 pages, but I wanted to give you action. I needed to give you action, right? Is the reason why we read comics. But, I wanted to kind of give you this story. So, boom, we start off somber. Boom, 2 big panels of action. Boom, we somber again. So I'm trying to bring the reader on this roller coaster. So panel 4, we return back to Surfer staring down at a ravaged Earth. Similar setup to panel 1, but this time we see less Surfer and much more Earth. And Surfer himself, he's continuing his thought from the last panel. He says, it was my faith in these people which kept me going. All right. So we go on to page 2. I loved Avengers Infinity War. I loved Endgame. I actually think the movies were better than the actual Infinity Gauntlet comic book. I think I'm going to do a whole separate video on why I think that. But the thing that I wished that we got in Infinity War and Endgame was Silver Surfer fighting Thanos. Surfer was such a huge part of the Infinity Gauntlet storyline, like a catalyst, like a huge part. Like, that scene in the first movie where Hulk, gets pummeled and then thrown into Doctor Strange's, then crashes on Earth and says Thanos is coming. In the comic book, it was Surfer instead of Hulk. Like I really wish we would have got Silver Surfer in Infinity War and Endgame, and we didn't. So I just wanted to recreate that classic earth-shattering Surfer Thanos fight because I was always a fan of that. So we go on to page 2. Surfer's locked up in the battle with Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. It was important to me that this was the Infinity Gauntlet version of Thanos with all the stones. So Surfer is locked up in battle with Thanos. Our hero and the Mad Titan grapple with each other, both with equal footing, trying not to lose ground to one another. You can see the strain on their faces. Surfer the self. Again, he's continuing his thought. It was in that faith where I drew the strength to save mankind from the greatest threats in the universe. Again, I ended this flashback, right? It starts with Galactus. It starts with Mephisto being pulled into his own personal hell, but still he found faith in mankind, and that gave him strength, and that strength helped him save mankind from the greatest threats in the universe. When I go greatest threats, Thanos is the one. So it was a reason why I kind of built up to Thanos, right? So if you see in my script, my vision for this panel and what ended up on the page was different. And it was Damian who said, nah, it shouldn't just be Surfer versus Thanos. We should include as many heroes as we can. Plus, there were certain Marvel characters that he wanted to draw that he never got a chance to. Like, I don't think he ever drew Thor in a comic book, in a published book. So there was a couple of characters he wanted to just draw, even if it was just for a panel. But, he said not just Surfer versus Thanos, like just include more heroes. And it was a brilliant idea. The change to me made all the difference. Like as soon as he said it, I was like, damn, why didn't I think of that? Word, you're absolutely right. But again, this goes back to somebody, who's a great artist, a veteran storyteller, and just knows how to put the icing on top of the cake. You know what I'm saying? Absolute right call. So I changed the dialogue because the whole time Surfer is talking about himself. So it's a lot of singular, I. So I changed the script to, originally started, it was in that faith where I drew the strength to save mankind from the greatest threats in the universe. And it was in that faith where the world's greatest heroes drew the strength to save the earth from the biggest threats in the universe. So I just expanded his speech not to include himself. Subtle change, but I think it made all the difference. Looking back on it, I probably should have wrote, it was in that faith where the world's mightiest heroes, you know what I'm saying? Just like a little, the Earth's mightiest heroes, just a little nod to the Avengers, you know what I'm saying? I missed that, but, I wish I could get a do-over. But that panel turned out crazy. It was my favorite. It gave you a peek in the action. And now I wanted to bring the reader back down to reality to deliver that sombering message, right? So panel 2, a small inlet panel that zooms closer into the decaying Earth. Panel 3, another small panel that zooms in even closer to the decaying Earth. And Damian changed that panel too. And instead of giving us a close-up, instead of giving us another close-up, I was looking to create like a camera zoom into the earth, right? And I probably didn't need 2 panels to do it. And instead, Damian changed that panel 3. And instead of giving us another close up to the earth, because we got the idea, he gave us a close up into Surfer's sad eyes. Again, A1 change. That, I think that gives the story the emotion of what it needed. Like, yo, Silver Surfer is really fucked up over this. Like, he's really sad. And then we get that last panel. In our final panel, we see the back of a Roxxon factory with giant waste pipes leaking toxic matter into an ocean already filled with sludge and pollution. And Surfer itself. Still, my deepest regret is that I could not save mankind from itself. So the whole story is damn, I could save Earth from Galactus. From Mephisto, man. Thanos, like we saved Earth from Thanos. Like I swore to protect this planet. And what led it to its doom was mankind itself through pollution. Like I could do all this. I was mighty enough to do this, and my deepest regret is that I could not save mankind from itself with Roxxon just polluting the ocean. Yeah, man, I'm super proud of this story. I was proud to be a part of this. Wasn't a big payday by any means, right? I think I got like $150. And the truth is, I went back and I spent it all on the book. I went back to the comic store. I remember going to Midtown Comics and just taking a stack off the rack. I ended up probably buying like 40 issues. Then, like I said, this went to second print. It was re-released as a trade paperback. Man, I was able to do a signing for this in Brooklyn, my hometown of Brooklyn, at Anyone Comics. Also did a signing for this at Bulletproof Comics at the Flatbush Junction. I'm from Flatbush. I grew up growing to Bulletproof. Shout out to Hank. Shout out to the BP Brigade. Being able to sign a comic that you wrote was crazy. You know what I'm saying? It was a dope experience for me. But, and, you know, I've written more since then, man. Shout out to Chris. Chris has really given me other opportunities as well. I did a Flatbush Zombies graphic novel where I wrote the whole thing through. Maybe I'll break that down one day. I did a digital comic with Saladin Ahmed called Drac. It's a story that he had, and they had the plot, but they needed somebody to script it and kind of just flesh out a couple of digital issues. So I worked with Saladin Ahmed on that. That was crazy, and worked with Chris on that. I'm grateful for all of it. And like I said, I also did a 10-page Flash story in DC Solo number 10. I'll make a video and I'll break that down too. Not as proud as that story. There's a lot of things that I learned as I got older that I wish I could have went back and did some things better. And I actually have an idea for my own comic book series that I'm still working on, but I would love to get the opportunity to write for Marvel again or anybody again. Right now, I don't have a comic job on my table, but man, I love it. So I would love the opportunity again, and it'll come again. We'll see what the future holds. Anyway, just wanted to share that with y'all, man. So thank you for watching. I need y'all to like. I need y'all to subscribe. I need y'all to comment. You know how it goes. Let me know what you think. You can be honest, man. I crave the feedback. I crave the conversation. We got a real conversation on this channel, all right? Till next time. Peace.